G'day guys, Cam from Seat Skins here. Here to show you how to install Coulson headrests. So they're a bit more difficult than standard headrests, and so we wanted to give you an idea of how to do them. Because it probably took us 15 goes to figure out the right way to do them. So these are used headrests. A customer sent these into us. We have our own remanufactured ones of these, but these are used ones, so just so you know why they look like they look, but they're in good nick though anyway. So this is one of our leather trim kits. This one is in Napa with Alcantara, a bit of Alcantara as well, which flowed through the seats. And but the main thing about this is we're going to show you how to fit them. Some people try and fit the bottoms and then bring the whole thing over the top. I find that stresses it a bit too much. So what I like to do is fit one side, fit the posts, and then move the whole thing up and over and around one way. So and when we do that, I'll show you, but we try to go further past center sort of thing and squish this up so that we've got it's not under stress when we try and take it around the other side. So let's get started. And with the magic of television, I decided I needed a little silicone spray. It's not entirely essential, but it will just help get it to slip on. So just especially on those ends there, I'll start with just that end and get this going on. As you can see, that's pretty much filling out that bottom corner there and sitting roughly where it's supposed to go. And we want to go further past there and actually squish this up in order to go past center, as we talked about. But next step is to fit the headrest posts into those holes. And then we'll turn this sort of inside out now at the top area. Now at this sort of point, I like to sort of sit it on the edge of my bench, sitting on the headrest posts on the edge of the bench with the bolster parts sitting over the edge and down. Then what I'm doing is I'm trying to get the seam, the main twin needle seam, boot seam as some of us call it, sitting where it should go. Now on this I can see where the old one went, and so that's helpful, but you can there's sort of an edge and to show you where that should go. I'm getting this in the center, and then I'm sort of bringing that over. Now remember, we want to go further past center. So at about this sort of point, what I want to do is I want to start moving this all up. We don't want, I'll show this camera as well. We want to start moving all this further up and squish up in here in order to take the center further past center, so that when we go to try and fit this part over this edge, it's sitting further down and it'll be easier. So now I'm going to work this around, pushing up, squishing this area, moving the leather and pulling this way, as I then roll it down the other side. Again, pulling it again and rolling it down. Try not to push down on this area. That's why I was sort of talking about sitting it on the prongs. This has a steel bar in it, and it could go past and through the foam and through the leather at the bottom there. So always be leaning on just these prongs. I can be leaning on this prong at the moment, Well, it doesn't have leather on it, but not on this one. So we're rolling down a little bit and pulling in between our rolls. And we can also do some of this, moving the leather on the foam. Now you could use a bit more silicone spray. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm more in the camp of only sort of use it where necessary, because it makes your hands slippery while you're trying to fit something, and then you're slipping on the thing you're trying to grip. So, you know, I try not to too much. So I'm squishing that foam there. I've turned this inside out, as you can see here. I've turned this end inside out. Now again, we don't want to rest on that side. So if anything, if I'm pushing down on this, I'm pushing down here and I'm leaning this way at the moment. So try and roll this down, trying to put the seam where it should end up, because it'll just make your job easier later. You won't have to move things around, push things around too much. All right, so now we're at that point. We can see the steel bar right there. Now, this is not us, Holden designed this. Now, this zip is already a bit tight here, and as you can see, there's probably 50 mil or so still to go. So what I want to do is keep working this cover around, working around, getting the center further past the center. So, here we go like this. All right, so now it's probably sitting about 30 mil, 40 mil further past actual center. Now I want to try to bring this around this corner. Now, whatever you do, do not force it. Just, check it out, see if it's going to be able to go. If it's not able to go, you need to move it more. All right, so here we go. I believe I've done enough because I can feel the metal prong there, and the zip is just going around without much pressure. It's gone around. All right, so that was the hard bit, ladies and gents. Right, now it's looking a little wonky, so we'll move it all back a bit so this ends up in center. As my 5-year-old would say, looks wonky donkey, Dad. And you can get guides from sort of where everything's supposed to sit by the seams and the sharp edges on the foam. I can feel that there's a sharp edge on the foam there, and this seam is there. That is supposed to sit right on that sharp edge. That means I need to move everything this way a bit. We can grab and pull. Again, remember, only putting these prongs on the bench. The other prongs are sitting off the bench. Move it around a bit. So at this stage, we're just trying to get the main seams all sitting in their places. Then we'll do the finessing work of playing with the seams to get them all looking nice. If you can see here, they're looking a bit wonky donkey, but we will fix that as the next step. So on the bottom here, now that we've got this seam sitting right on that edge, we need to turn that seam one way or another. There's no real right or wrong. I can tell you how Holden did it. And it was that way. You could sit that seam that way also. That would look like this. The main thing is that you do it one way or the other, all the way, consistently to get a nice finish. I'm going to go this way because that's how they were done from factory. And get that sitting like that. Now, I'm going to continue going around all these edges and do the same thing, getting the seam. You can probably see here, this seam is not sitting on that edge. I'm going to move and play with that. All right, fast forward. Okay, so we've got everything sitting pretty much where it should go. I'm happy now with where the seams are sitting on the edges, especially of this back area, and the inside seams here and here. Now we're almost up to the zipper point. The only other thing I would say is to get these bits sitting nice and sharp is I would probably use something like just a flat blade screwdriver. Make sure it's not very sharp and be careful. We're gonna go in through here and very carefully try and get onto the bulk of the excess of the seam and push that outwards, and at the same time squishing that corner there so that sits nice and sharp. Now we're going to keep playing with these seams and things all the way along in the process. Now that we've got everything sitting in the right place, we can do that sort of stuff, and it's worth doing because it's not going to move again. So I'm just going to do the same thing here. And so now we're up to zip time. All right, so now we're gonna start doing the zip. So have a look here. You can see the zip's all sitting a bit funky. Let's set it in the correct way. There we go. Now it looks like, oh, now it's disappeared. We can find it, we can get it, and then we want to get the end tab. All right, we've got that. So now we'll just get it started. A little. All right, so I'll get that started a little there. Now we want to make sure that we're squishing together and getting it all sort of evened up. Can you see here that it looks like this side's bigger than that side? So we need to pull this side down as we zip. We also need to be pulling together so it's not under pressure. And we need to watch that the teeth are all lining up. You don't want like a tooth missing, skipping. So if you do get that, you just go backwards a little bit and go again. Now I'd recommend using either some pointy nose pliers or a little hooky tool of some sort to do this bit. I'm going to try with the hook. Check you can see that there. All right. Show you as I started off, and then I'll just go for it. So I'm pulling it together. This is awkward. As he presses it under his chin like a violin. And just keep it going. Check that this all looks nice, we're not skipping any. All good. Now that came together pretty well, mainly because, and easily, because we've got everything sitting in the right place. If it's hard, it means everything's not sitting in the right place. So now, what we're going to do with this zipper end is we're going to push it in, and it will continue in and under this bit of leather here, and that's where it lives and stays. Yeah. So now, we're looking pretty good. but we want to just do some more moving and playing at this point to get everything looking really nice. I've got some wrinkles here, so I want to move out this way, move this way in order to flatten that out. I've got a few little wrinkles here. Now the factory ones had heaps of wrinkles, so you know this isn't anything new, but we can smooth them out a bit. And then we want to play with this back seam here, turning it one way or another. Doesn't matter which way, but make it look nice. Personally, I'm going to go this way. That's what they did from factory. Alright, as you can see, that's looking way better. And look, the reason why I like to do it that way and why they probably did it that way from factory is if it's sitting that way, you can't look into the seam, and so that looks a lot neater than if you could see into the seam like that. Alright guys, that's pretty much it. So I am going to do just a little tiny bit of heating and maybe a little steaming, but this is like the 1%ers. You know, if you do this and get it like this at home, you've done awesome. Put it in your car, it's going to look amazing, and you know, a little bit of heat from the sun over a tiny bit of time, little wrinkles like this and stuff are going to disappear in no time. Yeah, get your trim on, guys. If you've got any questions, let us know. Give us a call, give us an email, send a carrier pigeon to Hamish. He'll sort you out.
Yes.
Get your trim on.